All right. Welcome back to another edition of the Other League Pod with my co-host here, Snyder. And we got just one of the gentlemen that's participating in the semifinals this weekend, Arby's. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Let's go, boys. Good to be here.
Good to
It's been
have
a
you. Good to have
while.
you.
Been on the pod. I
Yeah,
love
this is
it.
your first 2024 experience, we'll say, on
First
the
time.
pod. Yeah, yep.
I was
Well,
saying
yeah,
to Zero earlier, last
I
time I
was
was
gonna say.
on, I was previewing and I lost. So this is risky move, but
I mean,
let's
you
go.
first thing is your
Go,
opponent's
man.
not here, and it's a semifinal, not a final matchup. So, but
We invited all the opponents, didn't we?
we did. So there were some. So there really only two invites, I should say, were formally given from me to you and Andy initially, but there was some background, I guess, discussion of getting all of you guys on, which would have been cool. I think it's about 10:20 right now, and Aaron's been asleep for about 24 minutes. Bedtime at strict 10. Get those hours in when you can.
Yep.
Especially with the little one coming in March, he's going to be losing a lot of those hours pretty quickly here. So
Oh, yeah.
and I
You're never
and I
getting it
think
back.
you never do. And then Andy's out doing some Christmas stuff. So and then Rick, I don't know. You never know with Rick. Rick might show up. He'll hack the
Cool.
system and find the invite somehow.
Yeah. Stick me in an Uber.
There is still a path that you and Rick can play in the final. We'll get to it, but it's which is pretty amazing. But I'm going to share here. We'll maybe just recap a little bit of last week. Damn, the quarters had so many points, boys. It was insane.
It was really the four teams that were, I think, most deserving, just in terms of like the amount of points. And I know Ryan's been kind of on a tear, recently, but I think like with his team kind of faltering, especially with the backs, just crushed him. But
Terrible.
they even out at about 100, and that just ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah, yeah. It was overall. I mean, pretty lopsided in all the matches except for Rick and Steve. To be honest, I mean, just in terms of just where everyone got to. I mean, just points everywhere. Like I said, I mean, Andy gets to 154. It's a healthy week. And I mean, I had some shares like I mentioned with Devontae in another league, and so I was pretty tuned into the Jets game over the weekend. And my God, what a second half! That guy was. They were just back to their Packer ways of just throwing. It was kind of fun to watch. Every play, every big play went to Devontae. He was he was going off.
It was incredibly fun to watch. Like if it's because from where I'm at, I was like, this might be the last year that we get Rodgers and Devontae in New York, which kind of sucks. I mean, I think there's a chance that they're both back. But it was cool to see them like turn back the clock. And my God, Devontae Adams still looks like when he could turn it on like this, he still looks like one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah,
Like at least
and
like top 12. He's so good.
oh,
Snyder, do you want them back as a
yeah, I was
Jets
just gonna say
fan?
that.
Um, it's complicated. I think it depends on who they get as head coach. Now, if they get like Mike Vrabel, then hell yeah. Like sure. Like what are the other options? You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like because where they pick in the draft, they're probably gonna pick like toward closer to 10. Like Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders are probably gonna both go in the top three. Top three, top five, whatever. And then, Darnold's not gonna come back here. Like then what are you looking at? Like Justin Fields. So it starts to the options kind of thin out, and you're kind of like, well, maybe we'll run it back with Rodgers another year off the Achilles. Like he's starting to look healthier. So if he carries
definitely.
that over, then why the hell not?
Yeah, I
So
like that.
I'm definitely more open to it. I think a couple weeks ago I was kind of like, let's turn the page, but I'm kind of like, nah, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah, they pretty much went all in. So I mean, I agree. I agree with that take. I mean, and then I mean, last week I don't know if you got a chance to hear it, but like pretty easy assessment. Obviously, Ben, just with your AJ Brown play from the Eagles standpoint, we just kind of knew that they were going to feed him. There was a lot of commotion of that back and forth. I mean, it was. I mean, they didn't really even run it. I mean, I guess we'll get to your matchup with Ryan and kind of Saquon's faltering a little bit with just the volume that he got, but um, I just knew it was destined for AJ Brown to have a good game. I just think.
Yeah, he was due.
Yeah, you knew it was going to happen. It's incredible that they came up with this strategy to throw it to their best player more than like 7 times. Like,
Yeah, fair
you
What
enough.
a
I mean,
concept.
honestly, as an Eagles fan, so you look at like St. Brown, the guy's getting like 18 targets. Like, imagine if they threw the ball to AJ Brown 18 times.
It's true.
It
They
would be
probably win most
so.
games.
Yeah,
Yep.
you said so easy. Guy's a
I mean,
beast.
they can win it. It's funny they're kind of showing it now. I mean, they're one of definitely most complete teams in the NFL for sure. I mean, it just they get that passing game
Oh yeah.
going just like they did last week, and they didn't even have to run the ball against a pretty solid Pittsburgh team. So yeah, it's probably really nice for Andy. I mean, making that trade with Houston now he gets that's the bulk of his points came from his quarterback and those two studs at
Yep.
receiver. I mean, overall probably subdued game. I mean, nice that Brees played. He gets a touchdown. He gets to 13. I mean, otherwise he had some
Huh.
options that weren't exactly
Yeah.
great behind it. So I was probably happy about that. But 154, hell of a week. I mean,
Was
led by
was his
Devonta.
was his touchdown in overtime?
Brees.
Yeah.
No, it
No,
didn't get to overtime.
yeah, they scored.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, they hit. It was actually pretty dumb from a game theory standpoint. They had Jacksonville had two timeout. Like they like basically let Brees score. It was a tie game and there was like under a minute left or something like that. Maybe like 2 minutes left. I mean, Jacksonville had two timeouts. If they would have knelt twice, they would have burned Jacksonville's timeouts, and then they could still run a play on third down to Brees if they wanted to score, and there would have been like, or you just run it down, kick a field goal that's like a gimme, and then you have like 15 seconds left for Jacksonville. But and either way, they scored, and Brees just doesn't look healthy. Like I think you're just banking on a touchdown from him because now, like moving forward, because now like he's not going to get like 15 carries. Like they've got Isaiah Davis, they're working other people in. I know Braylon Allen's probably going to miss, but um, I just think it's kind of more of a split because Brees isn't fully healthy. I still don't know why they're playing him, but he's playing and he's probably going to play as long as he's able to. So he's as good a bet as any as a touchdown, I guess.
yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
don't
and then
think I
just
don't think that I'm sorry, I don't think that receiving is going to be there, and it hasn't really been there for the last few weeks, surprisingly. But um, either way, I think like you're starting him if he's active.
yeah, I don't, and we kind of commented on Andy's depth. I don't think he has any options really behind him, so he's gonna have
Yeah,
to just ride those guys out. I mean, just moving to Beef quick. I mean, 110. Unfortunately, just not gonna get it done in the playoffs. I mean, not a bad score, but
good year for Beef.
was gonna say one of the better years that I can remember from Beeve. I think he did get into the final against me a few years back.
Yep.
I do remember beating him in a final, so I don't think it was that far off. So probably his most successful season outside of that year that he went to, got second that I can recall. I mean, there might have been some playoff appearances. I'm not, there's been a lot of years in this league, but I don't remember him having the that run that he had this year. I mean, he was the top dog for a while. I mean, kind of skirting by a little bit, maybe not necessarily the best team on paper, but yeah, good year. Fortunately, ran into just a kind of a better team in Andy, and he had some holes. Unfortunately, I mean that running back position was a tough one. He actually had a pretty good week overall from those guys. Kyler Murray down year, I think overall. That was my one takeaway. I was kind of high on Kyler Murray this year. He's
Same.
kind of sucks.
Yeah. I have Kyler as my quarterback in my other leagues, and I have that Kyler McBride stack. So I was kind of following Nils's team along pretty well. But like, I just want to point out DK Metcalf. He's been like
Yeah,
he's not even been like kind of okay recently. He's been like pretty bad. Like
it's true.
in a PPR league, like you can get 9, 10 points like replaceably, and it sucks that he invested. Like, because I was pretty high on DK, but we just saw the shift with kind of JSN
Yep.
maybe fitting a little bit more into that offensive scheme that they have with him running more vertical routes and kind of more things focused from the slot. So I think Metcalf was a huge letdown toward the end of the year and kind of like crater because you had to play him and he just didn't really deliver what I was expecting him to deliver this year.
How
Yeah.
old is Metcalf?
Like
What is he?
27,
5 years in the league?
probably
Yeah, somewhere 4 or 5 years in the
27,
league.
maybe. Here, I'll
Can't
look it
believe
up.
he's just not like more of a beast.
Yeah, I mean, physically he is. And he's definitely had
I
some.
wonder like what he would be like. I
27.
don't know. What does he need? Like better quarterback? Go somewhere else? He's a freak, but
I think he's kind of one dimensional.
yeah,
I think he's just like an
Yeah.
outside go guy. And
Yeah.
to Sny's point, like JSN just everything underneath and still can get deep if he has the shot to take them. So I mean, because Gino's been chucking, I think he's still third or fourth in passing yards. So like they're throwing
Yep.
the ball. I mean, and
yeah,
it's just I just think there's his route tree is kind of limited, and they don't really it's not gonna move inside. He's too big. So it's not like like CD, for instance, like he goes in and out, he's just everywhere. But DK is
Yeah.
like kind of has to stay on the outside. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I don't think Nils. I gotta, I guess the next thing at some point in the off season, Sny, we got to go over some projections for keepers because now, unfortunately, Nils and some other guys are now not playing for anything really. It's just next season now. So,
Yeah.
but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Initial
and
thought. I mean,
Mills.
just
Yeah.
yeah, to put a bow on Nils' season, I guess probably. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at keeping Trey McBride.
Sure.
Just like one of the few difference makers at tight end. He's been insane this year, and like he has no receiving touchdowns, and he has like almost.
Wow.
Can you pull up how many catches he has this year, G? He's
Yeah.
got to have like 90 catches.
Yep. Almost exactly.
Yeah.
89, 938,
Yeah, he
116
has
targets.
no touchdowns. That's an insane. That's like the Deontay Johnson season of like 2 years ago when he had like 100 catches and no touchdowns.
The stat
Like
line is insane too. Like every
Yeah,
he's
week.
so
Snyder. I don't know if you like referencing that, but yeah, there's something that he's tied with Deontay Johnson for the league record for most catches without a touchdown.
Without a
really
touchdown.
So he needs one more.
Wow.
that's insane.
Good stat.
Yeah,
Good
That's
stat.
insane. But yeah, all in all, good year from Nils. He battled. He got some good wins. I don't know how I'm ever going to get over that losing by point zero one. Um,
Changed a lot of
but
things in the league.
it did. It did. What could have been? Um, Ben, big win over Ryan this week.
Monster
Uh,
win. Monster win.
put up the week high, I believe, in points. Am I incorrect in that?
I think it was actually Ship Lizard. Yeah, it was Ship Lizard. That matchup
Okay.
was insane. But still,
Yeah.
yeah.
157, nothing to sneeze
Close,
at.
and
And
you're projected for the most points this week.
how about we just put a bow on the fact that we will not have a repeat champion, which is
Yep.
that we
Yeah.
can mark down.
Good
The
riddance.
last yeah, the last repeat was 16-17. Your boy
You.
here.
Huge.
But yeah, that was the last repeat. Doesn't happen often in this league.
I
Tough
mean,
to
it's been
do.
crazy. I mean, Ryan and I played two playoff games in a row,
Yep.
Yeah.
championship and then immediate repeat. So like crazy, crazy pressure. Stakes are high. Horrible zero goose egg from Cooper Cup to start
Yeah.
it. I mean, it was a wild week.
Yeah.
Thursday was rough for both you guys, but even rougher for you. Yeah, zero is. I mean, you can't have any. There's like zero morale going into Sunday if
Nah,
one of my guys scores zero in a
wasn't
quarterfinal matchup on
feeling great
Thursday.
after Thursday. Was putting out the help wanted signs on a few locations. I was looking around for receivers. I needed help, but
The rest
Ramon
of your
Ra, the main chef, he came back. He really those 4 o'clock games. Those were big for
years,
me,
yeah,
and
they were.
I
They
got
were really.
lucky. I mean, you need it. Barkley just wasn't a Barkley game. I think he's a little hurt. Henry just I, that was a
Oh,
weird. I don't know. I mean, I guess I got lucky there.
It
I
was
mean,
it was a
six
Lamar. It
points.
was it was a Lamar game. Yeah, you did get lucky because
yeah.
I think they got up by so much, and he was just chucking the ball well. I think he was maybe mentally, I think you might have said it to me when we were kind of comparing your teams. I think last week, Ben, we were together, just that, Lamar probably wanted to cook a little bit just after that loss against Philly. And,
Yeah,
um,
he
I
really
think
did.
he's trying to make a push for MVP too. I mean, he's got every
He's
right
right
to
there.
have some votes. Yeah. I mean, so, it
It
was
seems like
one
he's
of those.
just sick of, I guess, kind of losing. And he's just like he was running himself on that game, which honestly was saved me.
Yeah, I mean, those are by no means, you look at the names. That was the big cog of Ryan's team, and combined they get 15. I mean That's the story of the matchup. I mean, your team goes off. You pretty much hit on everybody. That Cincinnati game was awesome for you. I felt like every time I looked up in terms of red zone, it was I mean it was T Higgins and then it was Chase Brown late. I mean, you got a lot of production. Nearly what 45 points from those two guys in that 1 o'clock. So, and then like you said, the 4 o'clocks between Jalen and St. Brown. Those are some that's a big week. And Laporte, I shouldn't say that. Damn, 18. I didn't even see Laporte's stats that
You
much.
didn't even play Brian Thomas, who had 30.
Yeah, tough to play him with
No.
his lineup. It's got to be him or
Yeah,
Higgins, I
I
guess,
know.
every week.
Yep, that's the question.
Jeez.
I don't know how to get
Yeah.
him in there.
It's just hard to trust
Try.
with Mac Jones. I mean, I don't blame you. I would have probably
Yeah.
done the same exact lineup, but yeah, you're right, Sny. I mean, throw another 32 in Cooper Cup's spot. I mean, just for fun, I guess. Not really that you
Whoa,
would do that, but geez,
180.
that'd be a monster week. Yeah. Got to feel good, Ben. I mean, 157, it was pretty seamless. You didn't have to really sweat too much out, seeing how Ryan's running backs kind of responded on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, feel good. It was a wild game. I was super nervous when it was starting, even through the 1 o'clocks. But I mean, it's week to week. I mean, there's good and bad all over the place. I mean, Cooper Cup now. What's going on there? What's going on with Charbonnet?
Yep.
I mean, it's just any given week here. Andre's team is stacked. So let's
Yeah.
go. Here we go.
We'll get to it. Yeah. I mean, Tiburon, hats off. I mean, I think he got snake bitten a little bit with some of the receivers we mentioned throughout the year. I mean,
Yeah.
Ayuk was never really that great. Um, coming off that
Yeah.
contract situation, and then Godwin was just a monster. I mean, was leading the league really for a while, at least early on those first couple of weeks in terms of catches, and then he goes down. So a lot of holes for him to fill in the receivers, but
Well,
his
I think we can all agree that it's nice to see the trophy come back to American soil. The year of the dragon is over. It's back. Let's get it back on the American soil.
a
There you go.
great
You're
line.
welcome, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think too many people besides Ryan, I would argue would be rooting for a back-to-back champion, especially Ryan. God, we would never hear the end of it. So, um, yeah, hats off to him though. He had a hell of a season. He kind of weathered the storm, like I said a couple weeks ago, and got into the playoffs and was looking like get a shot like everyone else. But
No,
yeah,
he
his
had a good
season
team. Stud running backs. That those were insane.
insane. Who's he keep?
Yeah, probably Bucky. I mean, it depends on where he picks in the first
Probably
round.
Bucky. Yeah, probably Bucky
But
Irvin.
I
That's a
mean,
good keeper.
if he's picking like anywhere in like the top three somehow, like um, you know, then maybe you keep Bucky. I mean, but if he's picking 12, then keeping
Sure.
Saquon comes into play, I think. But I mean, I think Bucky Irving is such a good keeper. He got him in like 12 or something.
Yeah,
But
that ended up being a great, yeah, that could be a great keeper option for sure. Damn, Tajay Spears at 27. I know Pollard went out, but damn, I thought he would play him, but it's kind of looking at the benches. Yeah, I mean, hey, Ryan gets back into the playoffs. It's two successful seasons in a row, I would say. Getting the playoffs is a good par level, I should say, for a successful season. But yeah, it's onward and upward for Arby's. We'll see what happens. This was the matchup of the weekend by far.
the Clark
Yeah.
Bowl,
Yeah, the Clark Bowl, massive, massive
Wow.
point total everywhere. Both quarterbacks go over 45. Good Lord.
Insane matchup.
It really was. It was really fun to watch. I mean, I think I think Rick always kind of had him at like an arm's length a little bit. It felt like. I mean, just kind of following it, but yeah, I mean, Rick's humming, man. Rick's the first seven seed, and he's 2 wins away from
It's
Cinderella.
just a scary piece of shit. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he
Evans,
is.
dude. Mike
yeah,
Evans.
yeah.
Unbelievable. This guy's un he's got to go down in fantasy football lore. Like he just every year
Easily. Yeah.
Was
he
it
shows
was
up, he's hurt, and
yeah?
then he always shows up big, it seems.
Was it last year that in the championship or like the semifinal or something? I can't remember if it was last year or the year before where he put up like 3 touchdowns against Carolina and put up like
Yeah.
40 points like this. Like
It,
That
I
sounds
totally
just
familiar.
remember.
an insane receiver, man. Just like and that trade was huge because now like Rick has to bank on like huge spike weeks from these guys. Like Montgomery's probably out. He's definitely out for the remainder of the fantasy season.
Yep.
My God, Jonathan Taylor, like, oh,
Good Lord.
finish the play. Like, come on.
8 point swing there.
I hate that shit. And it probably lost, probably lost Indy the game because like they were about to go up two
For
scores
sure.
and then
How do
like
you
they
do
just can't
that?
do anything. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
Like
it's
how
crazy.
you're like that's honestly like hitting a home run in baseball and not touching home plate. Like finish
Yeah,
the damn play. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Ridiculous,
that's a great
ridiculous. But yeah,
analogy. It's insane to think that people. I mean, it happened in the Bengals.
Yep.
The pick
Defender.
six
Yep.
yeah,
too, like
Yep. Yep.
twice in one
yeah,
week.
yeah.
Yeah,
What?
it's yeah, you add those points to Rick's squad, he gets close to that 180 mark with that touchdown from Taylor, which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I think that's a good takeaway, Sny. I mean, he's gonna need, you kind of talked about like with Rick last week about Lamar Jackson, like getting to see this guy in a fantasy playoff. Like he's the one that took Rick to the
Oh,
fantasy playoff, so he finally gets, having that is insane. Like you start at the quarterback position
yeah.
and you have Lamar Jackson, who almost seamlessly put up 46. Quick 5 touchdowns by mid
Dude,
fourth
I mean,
quarter.
it's
I don't even think he
just.
was playing.
Five passing touchdowns is
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, I know, there's a lot of ways to get there, but like, look at these playoff teams. Like, people always, are all wait
yeah,
on these cues, but like, all these major cues just drag their teams. Like,
It
it's.
yeah.
matters.
I mean,
Yeah.
This year,
yeah, it's not the only thing that matters, but like, Jesus, like, who else can throw up 45 points?
that's a good. That's a good takeaway, Ben, because I think all year our some of the mantra that I think Snyder and I were kind of like going back and forth on was that like running back was so important this year. Running backs were so key to I think the success of like a lot of these franchises that are in the playoffs. And like, we've had some pop weeks, like we just mentioned, Mike Evans, Devontae, but like quarterbacks that's a good takeaway. I mean, Josh Allen in this matchup and Lamar Jackson, they were the front runners for MVP. And then, both guys had, I would say, respectful backfields. Montgomery going out is going to be interesting coming up here this week for Rick. And, going from the rig standpoint, like I'm happy to see him lose. I did not want to
He had a
see
really
Steve, but
yeah,
he had a hell of a team. Yeah,
he had a
Sny, he
really
had a
good
hell,
team. He had a
hell of a
really
team.
good team.
And like he's
Yeah,
about to churn too. Like Jameer Gibbs now, like this
I
week
was
probably
just
could,
thinking that too.
like
Yeah.
Jameer Gibbs is gonna go off this week. Like,
Yeah.
so I think Rick did a lot of you guys favors, Ben, you included, like getting Steve out of this because Steve's got a hell of a roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, later,
I wouldn't want to
Steve.
face, yeah, I wouldn't want to face Steve.
Yeah. And Steve still put up 150. Like
Yeah,
it's really
insane.
hard to lose with 150, but like when you get to this point and you have a guy who puts up close, over 160, like the margins are so important. And like that Kittle only had 10 and Kyron Williams, like, he doesn't score and then, only has like 13 and then he puts Jaden Reed in because he lost George Pickens. Like stuff like
Yep.
that at the margins just like can be the deciding factor. And like, yeah, he needed all of that. Kyron's close to 20 every week
No,
to
those are
win.
two
So
really good teams, and that's just like
yeah.
fantasy football year. Like some
I
Yeah.
guy,
got
yeah, exactly
I
what you
got an
just said.
early Steve prediction of keeping Josh Allen. And how do you? What did he get Josh Allen? Third, fourth,
Fourth.
maybe? Yeah, I
Fourth.
mean,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
don't see how he doesn't keep him. Jameer Gibbs will be back on the board. That'll be nice for everyone in the league.
Top five pick.
But really good season from Riggs. I have to look back on his team when he won it. I know he had a pretty good team then, but
Yep.
he had a
Which work,
powerhouse this
Riggs?
year.
It's a
This team,
solid team.
I think this team was better.
Yeah, I would argue
Like
it. I mean, I don't.
ironically.
I'd have to look back and see, but I mean, looking at his roster and what he did all year, I mean, every week I felt like I was just complimenting it, against my will, really. But yeah, he had a monster team this year, so tough
Yeah.
break. I'm sure
Steve's
he's
the
happy.
better brother. We
Sure, he's
said it.
happy. Yeah, I'm sure he's happy that he lost to Rick at least. I'm sure he's probably rooting for Rick. All right, let's get into it. We only have 2 matchups. We're in the
Here we
semis.
go.
Semifinals. Go.
Here we
Let's
go.
let's get into your matchup, Arby's,
Let's
and damn,
drink.
favored by a lot early here. Is this
Yeah.
accurate? Jeez, let's look at this now. I haven't looked at any of
Means
these matchups.
nothing.
Damn, Andre, let's show the benches. I saw him pick up.
Wow. Hold on. Can
He's not
we
playing
from
Daniels?
it's a rough matchup. Scroll up real quick. Hold on. So we got in Andy's lineup right now, he has three Jets, one
Mhm.
Jaguar tight end, and two Raiders. What could go wrong? What you know what I
Valid.
mean?
And one
Like,
Yeah.
X-Rater that's in the jet uniform.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
That's
Yeah.
true.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, very interesting lineup from me. And he's had an interesting lineup all year, kind of makeshift with some of the injuries he faced. But yeah, interesting. I guess I don't hate the Aaron Rodgers play. Thinking I saw him
Mm-mm.
pick him up and I realized, yeah, it took me a second. I mean, he is throwing a Brees and Devontae. Probably hoping for kind of more of a shootout. Rams
Yeah.
defense hasn't
Should
been
be.
anything spectacular. I Tough matchup. I don't know if I would sit Jaden Daniels. I'm a play my guys type guy. I don't know. It's tough. Um, I feel like I don't like I'd be overthinking it by playing Aaron Rodgers. Again,
Yeah.
he's got two
Yeah.
Jets, so
It's on. Yeah. That's a good point, G. It's almost like what's worse? Like, would you feel worse if you play Jaden Daniels and he like puts up the maybe like 12, 15 point week that you thought he could have, and
yeah,
then you sit Rodgers who puts up 30, or vice versa, where like you're kicking yourself because
yeah,
Rodgers like puts up like he only throws like one touchdown and puts up like 17 or something, and then Daniels gets like two rushing touchdowns or something. Like what's worse, you know?
yeah. I mean, I guess
So
if
I
you
don't know.
double dip, you get. I mean, you get 12 every score if those guys connect. So I mean, I guess that's
Yeah,
that's the
true.
that's the thought. If those
Yeah.
guys
You're
Yeah,
hook
going
up
with the
and
high risk, high reward. It's
yep, yeah,
scary to go up against.
yeah. I mean, I guess he
I mean,
picks up
that's
his.
an 80-yard touchdown to Adams away from devastation there. It's,
yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
happened
mean,
last week.
Devontae, the way that they're cooking though, like I mean, he's going to get his. I think that's the one. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. He's got a lot of good
yep,
players on the other side that, I mean, you're staring at it, Ben, probably for the last couple of days. We're not. This is probably my first look. Um, but, I think he's got probably knows he's got a little bit of a long shot in terms of just the points he has to make up. So I think, to Snyder's point, I think he's just going to double down, take the home run swing with Rodgers. Interesting play. Um, I mean, your lineup, I mean, you just got the Charbonnet, like you mentioned, and I guess Brian Thomas play really to think about. I don't know. I don't know how you sit T
yeah.
Higgins though.
Yeah, I
Who?
was talking to Snyder
I,
about it earlier, like
yeah,
a couple days ago. I mean, it's just I don't know what to do. Uh, I'd love to get him in the lineup, but then it's also like, do I want to force him in there and trust Mac Jones? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's tough.
yeah. I mean,
uh, yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Snyder?
I think I I have a hard time benching. I have a hard time benching Cup, just because I
I
think they're
agree.
gonna score so many points, and I think Cup. I think it could be like sort of like a narrative type thing where they want to get Cup involved early, especially in the middle of the field where, um, assuming like. I mean, the Jets can be thrown on all over the place, so I think Puka is definitely going to get his, but I think it maybe, they funnel a little more things to. I definitely think Cup is going to score. In this matchup. It's obviously between Thomas and Higgins. The same way that you said, how do you sit T Higgins? I agree. I don't know how you can sit him with how much Cincinnati's throwing, but it's also, I don't know how you sit Brian Thomas. Like he's
Higgins
just been a
stud.
machine. And like I know
Yeah,
that like the Mac Jones thing, but like Mac Jones is like at least like he sucks, but like he's at least like serviceable enough for Brian Thomas
found
to
him.
get there. Like he's just gonna force feed the ball to him. And
I agree.
they're giving him easy stuff now. Like when the beginning of the year, he was kind of like a spike week player because they were getting him more downfield stuff. Like they're using him over the middle now. They're using him in the slot. Like
Yep,
so it's a good problem to have, but like it could be one where like it's a decision that you're going to be wrestling with, and if you miss, it's just going to like eat you up. So I don't necessarily envy that decision for you, Ben.
What did give me nightmares there, Snyder? No, yeah, couldn't have summed it up any better. That's the worst. It's people always say it's a good decision to have, but you're exactly right. You miss and you're done. So
Yeah,
we'll see. We got some things planned this week. We got some team camaraderie meetings. We'll see how it all plays out. We'll figure
Smart.
it out. We're gonna keep it in the house though. Keep it in the house.
yeah, yeah. Get Jalen Hurts to speak to the team. He's a good motivator.
Get a few guys over at Meaty Mondays at one of your Arby's franchises, or maybe whatever you want to call the rest of the week. So you guys endorsing that
Yes,
a four to
we're doing
six
a
Meaty
lot of
Monday happy hour.
we're keeping everything in the house. Limited menu this week. Don't be surprised. We're not gonna let a lot out to the public.
That's good. That's good. I guess this we got to go into projections. I mean, or predictions here.
Yeah,
Snai. I mean, we got Arby's. I gotta imagine he's gonna pick himself here. Little lopsided in the projection totals, and you got to ride with yourself. It's semis. I don't know, unless you're me and you want to try to jinx your opponent.
Oh, not even gonna mess around with it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's chug along. Here we
All
go.
yeah,
right.
Fuck this
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
What do you pick?
I'm gonna
Or
pick Ben.
kids.
I think, and I think too. I think it's easy to look at like the projection of 127, and then you look at the individual players, and you see like the red coloring of the team that they're facing. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a little misleading because Chicago the last few weeks has been brutal against wide receivers, and
Yeah.
I think like it is outdoors, so that could be a factor. But I think, I mean, Amon Ra's he's been a machine. Chase Brown has been all like, so I think a lot of these matchups, like I think you're in like a pretty good spot. And then you got Green Bay home against, I
Yeah. It's
guess,
gonna be a
Spencer
smash.
Rattler.
Smash game.
Like, yeah, man, that could be like a 15 plus kind of week for
Yeah.
your defense. And that's a lot to give you like a really good floor, at least. But yeah, Ben, I think it's just going to be too much. And I think there's too many things, and maybe it hits with Andy's team, but I think there's too many, like, it's almost like he's spinning like too many plates in the air, you know what I mean? On like sticks, because there's so many ways that it can go wrong if like, the Jets come out and,
Yeah.
falter, or it's like a Garrett Wilson game or something like that. And then, Brees doesn't score. And then, in the Raiders game, maybe, if it's Desmond Ritter again, I don't know what hope you have for Jacoby Myers. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go with Ben.
I have to. I'm picking Andre. More so just as a rooting fan, just to see somebody that had so much success but has yet to win one. I think Ben has two or maybe even three, going back to the original like eight that you guys had, way back in the origins of the league, we'll say. But if I'm just looking at the team, all right, we'll give you three with an asterisk. There you go. But I think there is just maybe a little bit too much firepower. So my heart is rooting for Andy, but it's just hard to look past some of the guys you have, and like Brenton Strange starting in a semifinal matchup. Crazy things have happened. We've noted it, but
Yeah,
um,
pull up Bretton Strange real quick. I think he had like 14 targets last week. Did he not? 12.
12,
Yeah.
even
So
so, good Lord.
yeah, he slid right into the Evan Ingram role. So I think it's actually a pretty good play. It's funny to see a random Jaguar in your semifinal lineup, but
Mac
I
Jones
actually think it's a
flying.
pretty good play. But yeah, I just think it's man, yeah, I think it's
That's
gonna
all
be
he's got.
too much meat.
Too much meat. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I think so too. I'm rooting for him in spirit. I'll say that. Here we go. The man couldn't make an appearance tonight. Kind of a last minute little text that I got from Ship Lizard. Said this is a statement. Keeping it short and sweet. We're focused on a potential Arby's matchup next week. Not even worried about the
Oh,
geese. So
wow.
interesting statement. Not sure why he's not looking past
I
the rinse suit
have a
here.
statement from the geese. It is,
Wow.
you know, you know.
Yeah, that's what he's doing right now, snoring in his
Oh, sorry.
bed.
Yeah, that was just some stores.
um, this would be quite exciting if Rick somehow pulls off another, what I would, I guess, call an upset. Going against the one seed for sure. But
I mean, do you ever? This is what you dream of: Lamar, Sam Darnold, semis like that. These two monsters. Those are saying monster cues. Get your guy. Get
hey,
Sam Darnold.
we noted, we know he. I mean, it's either him or Purdy. So he's really it's not that crazy of a
Yeah,
dice game for the
yeah,
geese. Yeah.
you gotta play Darnold.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, he's had a lot of success with redheaded quarterbacks. We mentioned it a couple weeks ago. So
Wow.
Wow,
especially playoff success with.
it's
So
very true.
roll it out
Is,
there.
is Aaron's kid gonna be a ginger?
It's
Oh,
just so dark, and that just
a
comes
young
out.
Gosling.
It looks like it looks like Sam Darnold. That'd be hilarious. Um, I interesting. I mean, I think kind of looking at his team though, like his again, like running backs have some pretty nice matchups. Joe Mixon. I mean, I didn't really see this questionable tag till now. I mean, is it just probably just like more of a rest day? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Aaron picked up Damian Pierce, I think. So
So did I.
I
Yep.
know he's kind of like at least
Panicking.
he's at least prepping if Mixon doesn't play. I mean, I mean, I assume if Mixon doesn't play, like
No, he's got
he's just
Ford.
gonna play Chuba, right? He doesn't have Chuba. Never mind.
He's
I
got
thought he
Jerome
had
Ford
Chuba.
though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would
Ant's got Chuba
seriously
though.
look at
I'd
Jerome
probably
Ford.
be playing Jerome Ford over Jerry Judy straight up. Because
Oof.
I don't think because Jameis isn't starting, and
Well, I guess they have. Did they officially announce Oregon
I
as
think
like
so. Yeah,
okay? I didn't see that
That
yet.
DTR
Yeah,
is starting, so
interesting.
it's tough.
Jerry
Yeah,
Judy's been his guy too. Like we've
right.
noted it every week, just like
Yeah, it's hard to
how
sit him.
insanely consistent Jerry Judy's been. Like
Insane, man.
He's been a
Insane.
look
monster.
look at these weeks. Like probably since
He's been a
Yeah.
Jameson
monster.
started, 12,
He's
14,
he
26,
streamed
14,
him.
40.
He streamed him against me randomly, I think in week 8.
Has to be week
And
8.
or yeah, and then it was just a kickoff point for Judy to like he's like a wide receiver one every week, at least with Jameis.
Got
Yeah,
that
and this is what
Um,
zone.
you need. I mean, you got to hit on somebody like that.
Yep.
That just takes you over the
yeah,
top. It's how you come in first place. Like that's your flex. Who's a wide receiver one with
yeah,
Wilson and Chase, like studs.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I was just gonna
But
say,
but he just lost his quarterback. So what
right.
happens now? How do you go from a one to a bench? It's crazy.
yeah. I mean, you're that's a good point by Snyder. I mean, he's got options. I mean, Debo's basically unplayable, which is absolutely wild. But
Yeah,
the fact that he was actually on waivers too. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he somehow snuck on Aaron's team because nobody wanted him, and kind of point proven last week. But yeah, he's kind
yeah,
of looking at his options here. Go
Can
yeah,
ahead.
he
I
play
dropped his
two
ass.
defenses? Can he do that? Can he flex Steelers?
That's I honestly I would say
Ballsy.
maybe arguably you could because that'd be hilarious to see. But any case,
I
Yeah,
don't think the
interesting
platform
rule.
allows it.
no, you couldn't. You couldn't. You'd have to change the settings. But
Interesting
um,
proposal.
interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting play. I mean, going over, just gonna go over to Rick's side here. I mean, because the
Yeah,
projections are really tight. I mean, the massive hole of having to play Jalen Warren over Montgomery is just that's tough. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
against Baltimore, not
It's
exactly their
actually
day.
kind of a good spot to play him because Harris has been sucking. It could be a game where he's on the
Yeah,
field a
I
little bit
mean,
more.
he can get 10 like he did up here, like very easily, like nine rushes, 40 yards, and like
I
four
mean, if he
catches. Like,
scores right there in the next week, 15, I mean, that's
yeah, I'm
yeah.
just
That's
perfectly fine.
I'm just saying like
yeah,
it's just the momentum that Rick's team's had, and then like you lose a guy like that, like that's tough. I mean, the rest of his team, he's got great, I think, awesome matchups. I mean, DJ Moore hit last week for him, and they played Detroit. I mean, as long as the
yeah.
weather's like fair, he'll put up some points. He had 23 last time they played, which is a pretty nice score. I mean, we just talked about Mike Evans, Lamar at
Oh,
home against Pittsburgh.
yeah.
Oh, Mike Evans is gonna go off.
Mike Evans is in such a good spot.
Yeah, that Tampa Bay is gonna score so many points Sunday night. Like
Oh,
that.
There is
That
nothing
yeah.
more
Their offense
guaranteed
is awesome.
than Mike Evans is going to have a good fantasy game. I feel like
yeah,
he must have a ton of money in his own fantasy league, and just like no, he drafts himself. He just goes crazy.
this
One,
just stares at me. Like Travis
yeah,
Kelsey projected 16. Like I don't like that'd be a
yeah,
hell of a week for Rick. I mean, it's just not happening. Like even if Mahomes play, I mean, maybe I guess if Wentz plays, maybe. Um, maybe he's looking more of a Travis Kelsey's way. They're just with Noah Gray there and the other guys, the way that they run their offense, like He's not going to get the volume. You just got to hope he scores.
Yeah,
I guess he's
likely.
not scoring, huh?
No. What does he have? Two, three touchdowns this year? Two.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just not. It's he's a step slower. Let's just be real. I mean, he's a 35-year-old, 30 was he 34, 35-year-old tight end. Like he
He's rich.
just yeah, he's right.
He's a compiler at this point.
Yeah,
Like he's not. Yeah, he needs all the volume. But I think Mahomes is definitely in. Like I think he's practiced in
2 days in a
full the
row.
last 2 days, so I think he's definitely gonna play. But
I think
yeah,
that Skip Blizzard can be very much compared to Travis Kelsey as a manager. As a manager, he's just a step slow. He's just a little bit too shitty, and he's one step too slow. It's a very good comparison right now.
Is that leading into
I'm not.
your
I'm. That's leading into. I'm saying I don't think he's got what it takes
yeah, there you
to
go.
get past
The
the
goose.
newest franchise. Really, the Geese. They're on fire.
Yeah. All right. So you got your brother. All right. That'd be an interesting final. Brother versus brother. Snai, who do you like in this one? I mean, I Lamar had a pretty subdued game at Pittsburgh, but I feel like he could if that's going to be the turning point in this match. If Lamar throws up like a 40, that's a huge swing on Rick's side.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna pick Aaron also. I'm not a huge fan, and I love the player. I think he's awesome. I don't love the spot that Lad is in. He's kind of banged up. I know Herbert's super banged up. Their offense
Yeah.
can't run the ball, so like they throw, like everyone knows they're gonna throw. And I think McConkey, like I think his projection is
Many
pretty fair. I
options.
think he can probably get, unless he scores it, obviously, I think he can get, he'll probably settle into like the 12 to 15 range. But yeah, I mean, outside of Mike Evans, who interestingly enough, like I think he needs the I think he needs like 80 yards over the next 4 games to hit 1,000, and damn well sure they're gonna
Yep.
try to get him a like fucking 1,000. Like
They
Baker
said
knows it, the
yeah, I
OC
was just gonna
knows it,
say.
like
Oh,
they all know it, and I think he's just gonna he legit might be like a top 5 receiver down the stretch. Like, but I think just that one player, I think it's going to be tough to overcome. Like, because Aaron has his floor is like as a team is like I think really high with Connor in a really good spot. If Mixon plays, he's going to get the ball.
yep.
Chase could go nuts, and I think Garrett's in a really good spot too with against LA because I think they're going to throw a lot. So
Yep.
yeah, I like Aaron's team here.
So many Jets in these finals, Snyder.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
interesting.
almost like they should be better.
That's true.
They
Every one of their star players is playing.
It's crazy because in fairness, like with adequate coaching, um, and I don't think they would have gotten it with Salah. I think they still would have kind of underperformed. They seem like more of like a 7-7 kind of team right now because they've lost. I think they've lost 6 like 1-score games,
I
and
feel like
they've
they'd
lost
be a
like
great
they've lost
seven
they.
v seven team. Like if it was like 77 flags, Josh Rogers and these
Oh
guys,
yeah,
they'd be
yeah, oh
sick.
yeah, yeah.
They would
That's a good call.
dominate like a record with this up.
They might run it back next year. We'll see.
Bet you
We'll
they will.
see.
I bet you they like play well down the stretch, and everyone's like, "Oh, see, yeah, they got it.
We,
Let's do it again."
we
They
haven't.
and they're so notorious, RG. They're so
No, go ahead.
notorious for making decisions for the next season based off the last 4 weeks. Like they're so notorious for that.
Okay.
They brought Rex Ryan back after like a 3 week stretch. They brought Adam Gase back after a good stretch down the his second to last season. Like they're a silly franchise.
You're
I was just
so
gonna
right about
say
that.
I don't. There's two moves that I think Rick can contemplate, which we didn't bring up. I didn't really think there was
Oh
any
yeah.
fantasy relevance to it, but Michael Penix is going to be starting for the Atlanta Falcons this week. Does he throw out Darnell Mooney over
I
Lad?
would. I would. Yeah,
Tough,
I would.
tough coming off a 0, but totally new quarterback against the Giants though, which I gotta expect Penix is going to try to chuck a little bit. Can't look worse than they did last week. I'll tell you that. That was a sad
Yeah.
display. I was rooting for them to lose because of how absolutely piss poor they looked in that fourth quarter. Atlanta could not do. They had to. do everything to possibly give that game away. Also, kind of like Denver's D at the Chargers on Thursday night too over the Chiefs versus Houston. I mean, I don't know. I just think Denver's been so good for 'em. I mean, tough matchup, I guess, away and a division matchup on a Thursday night, but kind of like playing your best D. Denver's been, I think they're the number one defense in fantasy. Let me go back to this. Sorry, boys. I just want to look at this.
You're good.
Yeah,
Nice stat there,
Yeah,
G. I like
Denver's D's awesome.
they've been great. Yeah, they've been awesome.
that. That's a good little nugget there. Interesting
Just
look.
saying. I mean, Kansas City's not no slouch. Don't get me wrong, but it's
Unless they call up the shit.
it's things for him to listen to and see what he wants to do. I mean, you're already kind of rolling the dice with Jalen Warren, like we mentioned. He's probably given up a lot of points in those two Arby's matchups. So I'm again, my heart is rooting for Rick. I like to see one of the two guys in the semis get to the final and give themselves a chance to win it between him and Andy. But again, kind of just looking at it, got some points to make up, and I think Aaron that 117 is kind of a low score, a low projection, just given it some of his matchups. So we'll see. I think the better teams prevail, at least on paper, but I'm rooting adversely for the guys that are the underdogs. I'll say that. But
Uh,
it's gonna be
I think you
interesting.
gave shit some good advice. Unfortunately, I think by the time he hears it, it'll be a step too slow.
It's
Goose takes him
possible.
out.
Yeah, the Goose has. I mean, hey, they've had the best team all year. I mean, it's we've noted it. I mean, they've had the most consistency, I think, out of all the managers, including uh, Steve. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, man. It's gonna be I mean, crazy schedule the next 2 weeks too. I mean, you're getting into the holidays, you got the three Saturday games this week. I mean, so
Yeah.
um
Wow.
weird. Yeah, it's gonna be that weird stretch of
Here
even
we
before
go.
Christmas. There's Christmas games this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's 3 games on Christmas.
You need
So
Netflix. You got the Netflix one.
some of these Thursday and Saturday
Terrible.
teams are probably playing. Yeah, the Chiefs are playing on Netflix. I know that, right?
Yes. The Chiefs
So
play. So week 17, Chiefs
they
are at
play
the Steelers.
Pittsburgh. Yep. Yep.
Um, then the afternoon games, Ravens at Texans, and then the night game. Oh God, the night game is it. We have to pray that Geno Smith is in that game. It's Seahawks at Bears.
Ugh,
Jeez.
If we're
terrible
watching
game.
Sam Howell in prime time, like I will sleep out in the cold that night.
Yeah, like come on a big day. Like what? I wish they would consult people like us. We'd be like, no, don't schedule that. Like we could foresee that this is not going to be a game
What are
that
the
everyone wants to watch.
Well, what are the Saturday games this week, Sny? Before we wrap, because I mean the Chiefs. I feel like they're
Yeah,
letting these guys have an extra day. Yeah,
it's
Texans.
Texans
Yep.
at Chiefs,
Yep.
at 1. The afternoon game, Steelers at Ravens, and
There
then
you go.
Giants, and yeah, that's it.
What a sweet weekend! And there's also like college playoffs going
A
on. This is
lot of
sick.
college
Hmm.
games going on this
I don't know
weekend.
if I
Yeah,
can curse on your pod. This is freaking sick.
yeah.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
curse.
you can curse.
Oh, all right, cool.
I clicked
This
not
is
made for kids
freaking
when I
sick.
said it, just in case any kids jump on here. God, half the stuff that we have between Rick and Logan half the time is way
Yeah,
worse than cursing.
goodness.
Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. I mean, you're dialed in, Arby's. You're the only one here that gets to sweat it out this weekend. So, what are you telling the boys? What are you telling the team? What's the speech?
Oh man, I mean, I been here many times. I've lost, obviously, way more times than I've won. I've lost a lot in the playoffs, so
It's tough.
we know, we got a good veterans in here. We know we were in the championship last year. We feel it. We taste it. We actually saved some of that meat, and we made a little chili this week with that same meat from last year. So we are tasting defeat, and
Mm.
we're ready to eat it. Here we go. You'll see.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
see you next week, boys.
That speaks a
And
lot of
I
about
plan to be
the
hell yeah.
value of Arby's
right
franchise.
here next week with you
Yeah,
boys.
we certainly are going to have obviously the championship preview with it. It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to have to do it Tuesday, Sny. Christmas is Well, actually, I don't even know. Christmas Eve's Tuesday, right? Shit, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out on Christmas Eve. We may have to do that.
Or a Thursday, the day after
Maybe.
Christmas. A couple games are gonna have to be played.
Figure out the
Well,
logistics later,
Yeah,
boys.
yeah.
yeah, we'll figure it out. My last question before we get off then though. I mean, it's either your brother, who obviously you picked to play in the final, or your arch nemesis, the ship
Yeah,
lizard.
that'd be
I mean,
something.
who do
Pretty
you
That'd be
want?
poetic.
something. That'd be something.
Yeah.
I gotta think about that answer. I would be a different matchup completely for both. It
Different
would
mindset,
probably
huh?
be very exciting for the league if this shit
Yeah,
squeezed his shitty body into the finals. We will we'll let him decide. Well, let's let them decide.
yeah,
May the best man win.
We'll see.
that'll be a fun preview. Well, boys, Arby's, appreciate you jumping on. Good luck this weekend.
Hell yeah.
It's not good seeing you. We'll figure out the championship preview next week and when we're gonna shoot
Yep.
it. But yeah, semifinals. Here we go.
Go.
Let's go.
Merry Christmas.
Yes,
Merry
Merry Christmas. We
Christmas.
don't get back on. All right, boys.
Jake Spar, Matt
Peace.
likes the 50-cent beer.
Forever. Jake's bar forever.
Jake's Pars
It
is the spot. All right,
was,
boys.
I had to
All
sneak
right.
in. I think you need 50 cents to say it.
See ya.